Have you ever noticed that the mind never asks for permission? You finish your work, you lie down, you close your eyes, and quietly, the mind begins its own work. It pulls out an old memory and plays it again. It writes 100 versions of tomorrow, and most of them end badly. It argues with people who are not in the room. It answers questions that nobody asked. You tell yourself, stop thinking so much. But the more you push the thoughts away, the louder they return. And slowly, a strange kind of tiredness settles in. A tiredness that sleep cannot fix, because it does not come from the body. It comes from a mind that never stops turning. A wise thinker once said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." And another man, looking back over a long life, confessed, "I have known a great many troubles, but most of them never happened." If those words feel strangely familiar, if you have ever been tired without knowing why, or carried a storm inside you that no one else could see, then this story was kept safe through the generations for someone exactly like you. Because the quiet habit it speaks of steals more peace from people than almost any hardship ever could. And most of us never notice until it has already worn us down. Today's story takes us to an old watermill beside a river, and to a young man whose mind never stopped turning. Day and night, his thoughts ground away at old memories, imaginary futures, and worries he could do nothing about. Until one autumn morning, a simple errand brought him to the door of an old miller, a man who taught him life's deepest lesson without a single lecture, using nothing but 2 grinding stones and a handful of grain. There is a saying worth carrying into the story. Worry does not empty tomorrow of its sorrow. It empties today of its strength. The young man in the story was living proof of those words. What he discovered inside that mill changed not only his nights, but his entire life. So stay with this story until the very end, because somewhere between the sound of the river and the turning of those old stones, you may find the exact answer your own restless mind has been searching for. Welcome to Streams of Wisdom, and welcome to the story of the empty mill. Long ago, in a green valley where a river curved through the fields like a ribbon of silver, there was a small village of stone houses and smoking chimneys. And at the far edge of the village, where the river ran deepest and fastest, stood an old watermill. Its great wooden wheel had been turning for longer than anyone could remember, through summers and winters, through weddings and funerals, through good harvests and bad. In that village lived a young man. If you passed him on the road, you would notice nothing unusual. He worked in his father's workshop. He greeted his neighbors politely. He did everything a young man was supposed to do. But inside, he carried a second life that nobody could see. A life made entirely of thoughts. At night, while the village slept, the young man's mind opened its doors and went to work. It brought out an argument from 3 years ago, and he gave the answer he should have given then, again and again, sharpening it each time. It brought out the friend who had walked away and asked him over and over, "What did you do wrong?" It brought out the future, spread it across the table like a map, and marked every place where things could fail. What if he chose the wrong path? What if the workshop failed? What if people laughed at him? By morning, The young man had lived through a dozen disasters, though nothing had actually happened at all. His eyes were heavy, his shoulders were low. His friends began to notice. "You are with us," one of them said, "but you are never here." The young man only smiled and said he was tired. He did not know how to explain a storm that no one else could see. One autumn morning, his mother handed him 2 heavy sacks of grain. "Take these to the mill," she said, "and do not hurry back. The fresh air will do you good." The young man lifted the sacks onto the cart and set off along the river road. He heard the mill before he saw it, the deep rush of water, the slow groan of the great wheel, the low humming of the stones inside. When he stepped through the wide wooden door, the air was full of light and floating flour dust, drifting through the sunbeams like snow that had forgotten how to fall. The miller was an old man. His hair was white, though whether from age or from flour, no one could say. His hands were rough as bark, his movements slow and sure, and his eyes were the calmest thing the young man had ever seen. They were like the deep part of the river, where the water is so still you forget that it is moving. "The grinding takes time," said the miller, taking the sacks. "Sit. The mill does not hurry, and neither do I." So the young man sat and waited. The noise of the mill was everywhere. Water roaring, wood groaning, stone humming against stone. And yet the old man moved through all of it as if he were walking through silence. The young man watched him for a long while. Then the miller glanced over and studied his face. "You carry more than grain, young man." And something in the young man quietly broke open. He began to talk. He talked about the nights without sleep, about the old conversations he kept replaying, about the futures he kept rehearsing, about the tiredness that never went away, no matter how long he rested. The old man listened. He did not interrupt. He did not judge. He did not even nod in a hurry, the way people do when they are only waiting for their turn to speak. He simply listened until the young man had emptied himself like a sack. "So," said the miller at last, "your mill runs empty." The young man blinked. What?" "Come, it is easier to show than to tell." The old man led him to the grinding room, where 2 massive round stones turned against each other, and golden grain flowed down from a wooden hopper above them. The stones hummed, low and steady, and soft white flour drifted out from between them, falling gently into the waiting trough. "Listen," said the miller. "This is the sound of a mill, doing what a mill was made to do." Then the old man reached up and closed the hopper. The grain stopped flowing, but outside, the river kept pushing, and the wheel kept turning, and so the great stones kept grinding, with nothing between them. The change came within moments. The low humming turned into a dry, angry screech. A fine grey dust rose into the air, and the young man caught the faint smell of burning stone. The whole mill seemed to shudder and complain. He took a step back. The old man watched calmly. Then he opened the hopper again. Grain poured in. The screeching softened into a hum, and soft flour began to fall once more. "Did the wheel change?" the old man asked. "No." "Did the stones change?" "No." "Then what changed?" The young man thought for a moment. What was between them? The old man nodded slowly. Everything that matters, my boy, is what you place between the stones. He rested his hand on the wooden frame as if it were the shoulder of an old friend. Your mind is a mill, young man. It turns because you are alive, just as this wheel turns because the river flows. You cannot stop it, and you should not try. A mind that thinks is a gift. But a mill was built to grind grain, not to grind itself. Give your mind real grain, a task for your hands, a question you can actually answer. The person sitting in front of you, the day you are actually living, and it will give you flour. Leave it empty, and it will grind whatever it finds. Old memories, imaginary tomorrows, the opinions of people who are not even in the room. It will make noise. It will make heat. It will make dust. And slowly, quietly, it will wear itself down. An empty mill destroys itself, and so does an empty running mind. The young man stared at the stones. But I cannot simply stop the thoughts. I have tried. The harder I push them away, the stronger they come back. The old man smiled. Did I stop the wheel? The young man paused. No. No. The river decides the wheel. I only decide what goes between the stones. Something loosened in the young man's chest, just a little. But his mind, true to its habit, began to argue. It cannot be so simple, he said. Simple, yes, said the miller. Easy, no. Come, there is more to see. He led the young man into the storeroom, where sacks stood in quiet rows along the wall. The old man pointed to 3 of them. The first sack was full of soft white flour. I ground this yesterday, said the miller. Put your hand in. The young man did. It was fine and smooth and finished. Now take a handful and put it back between the stones. The young man hesitated, then carried a handful to the hopper and let it fall. The stones turned, but nothing new came out. Only a thin, bitter gray dust that rose and vanished into the air. You can grind flour 100 times more, said the miller, and it will never become anything better than it already is. It will only turn to dust and be lost. He looked at the young man. The past is flour, my boy. It has already been ground. Taste it. Learn from it. Bake your bread with its lesson. But stop pouring it back into the mill. Every hour you spend grinding what is already ground, you make nothing new. You only lose flour and wear down stone. Then the old man touched the second sack. It was empty, folded flat, clean, waiting. And this one is for the harvest that is still standing in the fields. Tell me, can I mill that harvest tonight? No, said the young man. It has not been cut yet. No, I can mend the wheel. I can sharpen the stones. I can keep the sack ready. That is preparing, and preparing is wisdom. But if I try to grind grain that is not yet in my hands, I will only run the mill empty all night and be too worn out to work when the harvest truly arrives. Most people destroy their today by milling a tomorrow that has not come. Finally, the old man opened the third sack. It was full of golden grain, this season's grain, dry and heavy and real. He let the grains run through his fingers, And this is today. This is the only thing a mill can truly use. What is in your hands on this day, in this hour? Feed your mind this, and it will feed you back. The young man walked home that evening with flour on his cart and something new turning slowly in his heart. He was not yet convinced, but he was curious. And curiosity sometimes is the first door out of a locked room. He began returning to the mill, first with grain, then with questions, then simply with his hands. He carried sacks. He oiled the great wooden axle. He learned to sweep the grinding room and to listen to the stones. And he noticed something strange. When his hands were full, his head was quiet. The mill had grain, and so did he. Then, one evening in late autumn, the sky turned the color of iron. Rain came down in cold sheets. The river rose fast, brown and loud, carrying broken branches past the mill like racing serpents. The young man stood at the window, and his old habit woke up inside him all at once. The water is too strong. What if the wheel breaks? What if the river reaches the grain? What if the whole mill floods? What if... The old man raised one hand gently, the way a man calms a frightened horse. Then he moved, not fast, but without a single wasted step. He lowered the sluice gate so that less water struck the wheel. He carried the grain sacks one by one up to the high loft. He bolted the shutters and wedged the door. Then he lit the lamp, set the kettle on the fire, and sat down. The young man stared at him. "How can you sit? The river is still rising." "Because I have reached the end of my hands," said the miller, pouring the tea. "The end of your hands?" "Everything my hands can reach, I have done. The gate is down. The grain is high. The door is fast. What remains now is the river's business. And the river, my boy, has never once asked for my opinion. I can spend the whole night fighting it inside my head, and the water will not drop by a single finger's width. Or I can sleep and be strong in the morning, whatever the morning brings." And the old man drank his tea, lay down on his cot and slept, while the storm shook the world outside. The young man sat awake for a long time, listening to the rain, fighting the river in his head, measuring it, arguing with it, imagining it. Then, somewhere past midnight, the old man's words came back to him. "The end of my hands." He whispered it to himself once, then again. And at some point, without noticing, he fell asleep. When he woke, gray morning light was leaking through the shutters. The river had settled back between its banks, and the great wheel, dripping and patient, was turning again, as if the storm had never come. Winter arrived, and with it, long evenings by the mill fire. It was on one of those evenings that the old miller gave the young man the smallest and greatest of his lessons. "Every night," the old man said, "before I sleep, thoughts come knocking at my door. Worries, regrets, questions. They come to every man, every night, even to me. I cannot stop them from knocking, but I ask each one a single question before I let it in." "What question?" Is this grain or is this dust? The young man leaned closer. If it is grain, said the miller, if it is something my hands can still act on, then I do one of two things. If it can be done now, I get up and do it. If it cannot, I set it in the hopper for morning. He tapped the wooden hopper beside him. I tell the thought plainly. You will be ground tomorrow, at first light, when the mill is strong. And here is the strange thing. The thought believes me. It stops knocking because it knows it will get its turn. And if it is dust, if it is flour already ground, the past, if it is a harvest not yet cut, the imagined future, if it is the river's business, things I cannot control, other people's hearts, other people's words, then it is dust. And tell me, what does every good miller do with dust at the end of the day? The young man looked at the worn broom leaning by the door, and slowly he smiled. He sweeps the floor. He sweeps the floor, the miller nodded. Every single day. Not once, not forever. Every day. Peace is not a treasure you find. It is a floor you sweep. The seasons turned as seasons do, and the young man changed the way flour fills a sack, not in one pouring, but handful by handful. He began to sleep through the night. He began to laugh at small things. His friends noticed that when he sat with them, he was truly there. His problems did not disappear. The workshop still had hard months. People still said careless things. The river still rose with the autumn rains. But the young man had stopped grinding himself, and that changed everything. Years later, on a soft spring morning, the old miller did not come down to open the mill. The young man found him resting on his cot, his face as peaceful as the deep part of the river. He remembered what the old man had told him one quiet evening, not long before. The river was flowing long before I came, and it will flow long after I am gone. My work was never to command the river. My work was only to make good flour with the water I was given. That is all any of us are asked to do. The village buried him on the hillside above the river, where he could hear the wheel turn. And the young man became the miller. The years passed, and his own hair turned white, though whether from age or from flour, no one could say. Then one autumn evening, a young traveler appeared at the mill door. His eyes were heavy. His shoulders were low. He had the look of a man carrying a storm that no one else could see. The miller took the traveler's bag and smiled. "You carry more than your bag, my friend. Sit. The mill does not hurry, and neither do I." And as the golden evening light fell across the valley, he walked to the hopper and quietly closed it, and let the young man listen to the sound of a mill grinding itself. The wheel turned, the river flowed, and the lesson began again. What a profound story this is. The old miller never told the young man to stop thinking, because that is impossible. The wheel turns as long as the river flows, and the mind turns as long as we are alive. The real secret is this: you do not control the turning, but you always control what goes between the stones. Think honestly about your own life for a moment. How much of your tiredness comes from actual work, and how much comes from the invisible grinding inside your head? As one wise teacher observed, our fatigue is often caused not by work, but by worry, frustration, and resentment. The young man was exhausted every morning, not because his days were hard, but because his nights were spent grinding flour that was already ground and milling harvests that had not yet been cut. Many of us are living exactly the same way. We replay the past that cannot be changed. We rehearse a future that may never arrive. And by doing so, we lose the only grain we were ever given: today. The miller's storm night wisdom is perhaps the most freeing truth of all. He did everything his hands could reach: the gate, the grain, the door. And then he slept, leaving the river to the river. This is exactly what the ancient Stoics taught. Make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens. Notice that this is not laziness, and it is not surrender. It is wisdom. Action for what you can control, acceptance for what you cannot. That is where peace lives. And peace, as the miller showed us, is not something you find once and keep forever. It is a floor you sweep every single day. Some dust will always settle. Some thoughts will always knock. Your power lies in the choosing. As one great psychologist put it, the greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another. Every time a thought knocks at your door, you hold the broom. So here is what you can begin practicing today, just like the young man did. 1. Ask the miller's question. Whenever a thought grips you, especially at night, pause and ask, is this grain or is this dust? If it is grain, something your hands can still act on, either act on it now or write it down and place it in the hopper for tomorrow morning. You will be amazed how quickly a thought stops knocking once it knows it will get its turn. 2. Sweep the dust. If the thought is the past already ground, a future not yet harvested, or the river's business, other people's opinions, outcomes you cannot control, name it as dust and let it go. Do not fight it, simply sweep it. And do it daily, without guilt that it returns. Remember the gentle promise of a forest monk. If you let go a little, you will have a little peace. If you let go a lot, you will have a lot of peace. 3. Reach the end of your hands. When worry rises like the storm river, make a list of everything you can actually do. Then do it. And once you have done it, say to yourself the miller's words, I have reached the end of my hands. Then rest. The river has never once asked for our opinion, and it never will. 4. Feed your mind real grain. The young man discovered that when his hands were full, his head was quiet. So when overthinking strikes, give your mind today's grain. A task, a walk, a conversation, the person actually sitting in front of you. An empty mill destroys itself, but a mill with grain makes flour. Your thinking is a gift. Just make sure it is grinding something real. Your problems will not vanish. The young man's never did. The workshop still had hard months, and the river still rose. But the moment you stop grinding yourself, everything changes. Suffering in imagination ends, and living in reality begins. Now, it's your turn. Comment below. What is one dust thought you are ready to sweep away today? An old regret, an imaginary worry, or something beyond your control? Your answer might be exactly what someone else needs to read. If this story spoke to your heart, please like and share the video so it can reach someone whose mill is grinding itself tonight. And don't forget to subscribe to Streams of Wisdom, because I'll be back again with another story like this. Until then, be patient, stay grateful, and keep moving forward in life. And remember, the river decides the wheel, but you decide what goes between the stones.